Chosen one. Right this moment, someone is talking about you in a message. This person is trying to explain to a friend why being near you feels like standing in front of an X-ray machine that penetrates bones and flesh and goes straight to the truth they hide from themselves. The message probably begins with, "There's something about him that," and stops because words fail to describe what you are. You already know who it is. The funniest part is that you probably aren't even thinking about this person. You're just living your life while they lose sleep over your existence. But this story doesn't start with them. It begins with you as a child, sitting in Sunday school, raising your hand to ask why the pastor drive a luxury car if Jesus said to give to the poor. The teacher's face turned pale, not because you were wrong, but because you were right. And everyone knew it, but no one was supposed to say it out loud. That was your first experience of the power you hold. The power to make uncomfortable truths impossible to ignore simply by acknowledging their existence. Years later, as an adult, you find yourself in a corporate meeting filled with cliques and broken dreams. Your boss explains a new initiative everyone was designed to follow, cutting costs by scamming clients. Everyone nods like bobblehead dolls on a dashboard. Then you speak up, and it seems unethical. 3 words, no raised voice, no pounding on the table. Nothing other than calling out an obvious truth everyone was pretending not to see. But in that moment, you became dangerous. Not because you're a troublemaker, but because you are incorruptible. And in a room full of people who sold pieces of their soul for a steady paycheck and dental insurance, you hold up a mirror showing exactly what they become. The number 33 started appearing everywhere after that meeting. On your phone, when you happen to check the time, on the license plate car that cut you off just before you got the call that your position was being restructured. 333. Divine protection, cosmic confirmation that losing that job wasn't a loss. It was a freeing of a cage never meant to contain someone like you. What they didn't understand by letting you go was that they thought they were getting rid of a problem. In reality, they were unleashing a force of nature into the wild. You are not meant to be tamed, not meant to follow absurd orders, not meant to pretend corruption is normal just because everyone does it. You are meant to be exactly what you are, a human-shaped truth detector, a walking, talking threat to every lie that requires collective agreement to survive. Your ex learned this the hard way. Remember how they tried to manipulate you about that night they came home late? You had no proof. You didn't need it. You knew it was that simple. The truth hit you like an electric shock the moment they crossed the door. Their energy was different. Their frequency had shifted. They had been with someone else, and their energy field screamed the truth while their mouth spewed lies. When you confronted them, they pulled out the full narcissist manual: denial, anger, blame-shifting, victimhood. But you remained unshakable, watching their exhaustion in the face of your certainty. They called you crazy, accused you of paranoia, of wanting to control everything. But you were none of that. You were simply awake, aware, incapable of being deceived. The relationship ended, of course, not because you couldn't forgive, but because they couldn't stand to be seen so clearly. They couldn't handle being with someone they couldn't manipulate. They couldn't handle you knowing things about them. They didn't even know themselves. You saw their patterns, their wounds, their potential, and that level of visibility terrified someone who spent their life hiding behind masks. After they left, the number 777 started appearing. 7, completion. Spiritual awakening, divine intervention. The universe was saying, yes, you see clearly, yes, you were on the right path, yes, that person needed to leave. They still talk about you. They compare everyone they meet to you. They wake up at night thinking about how you knew things they weren't supposed to know. You become the standard by which they measure everyone else, and everyone else by extension. Their new partner knows who you are, not because your ex told them directly, but because your energy is still everywhere in your ex's life, like spiritual fingerprints. Every time your ex seems distant in a conversation, their new partner knows they're thinking of you. Every time your ex flinches at certain topics, it's because you planted seeds of truth that continue to grow. You aren't even in the room. You've been absent for months, maybe years, but you remain the most powerful presence in their relationship. And let's talk about your family. They feared you before you even knew how to speak. You were the baby who stared too intensely. The little one who seemed to understand conversations you shouldn't have participated in. The child who asked questions that made adults exchange nervous glances. Why is she pretending to be happy? Why does Grandpa say he quit drinking but still smells like beer? Why does everyone act differently when I enter? These questions weren't cruel. They were honest observations from someone who hadn't yet learned that seeing clearly is dangerous, that truth must be diluted, decorated, or completely ignored. Your parents tried to get rid of it. They told you to mind your manners, stop being rude, stop asking so many questions. But you couldn't stop seeing what you saw. You couldn't stop knowing what you knew. You couldn't stop being who you are. Family gatherings became minefields. You entered and immediately felt unspoken tensions. Infidelity no one talks about. Addictions everyone tolerates. Abuses everyone pretends not to see. You became the family's unconscious threat assessment system. The one who could collapse the whole charade with a single observation. So they began excluding you. They said you were difficult, too intense, too serious. But what you were was awake in a sleepwalking family through dysfunction. You were holiness in a system that required sickness to function. You were truth in a structure built on lies. And your mere existence threatened to collapse the entire house of cards. If this message touches your soul, make some noise for this video so other chosen ones can discover it. Now it gets interesting. Remember that spiritual attack you recently felt? The one that came out of nowhere? Sudden fatigue, nightmares that felt more real than reality. The sense that something was trying to drain your life force. It wasn't your imagination. Someone actually tried to send you dark energy. Maybe they called it a prayer. Maybe they went to someone practicing things they shouldn't. But they tried to harm you spiritually. Do you want to know why it didn't work? Because you cannot curse what God has blessed. You cannot destroy what the universe protects. You cannot extinguish a light powered by the energy of the source itself. Every negative intention sent toward you hit your spiritual armor and returned to the sender with interest. They tried to play with forces they didn't understand. And those forces, seeing they were meant to attack, said absolutely not. The person who sent that attack is terrified now. Not out of fear of your retaliation. You probably don't even know who they are. They are terrified because they learned you are protected by something far greater than human understanding. They have nightmares where they must answer for attempting to harm one of God's chosen. They created their own spiritual prison, and you are the guardian of that hell they impose on themselves. But you kept moving forward, growing, becoming even more than you've always been. Every failed attack made you stronger. Every betrayal that didn't break you added a layer to your armor. Every rejection redirected you toward your true purpose. You weren't punished. You were prepared. Prepared for this moment, this revelation, this rise in consciousness happening right now. The corruption you always saw is starting to become visible to everyone. The lies you've always questioned are beginning to crack. The systems you refuse to participate in are showing fatal flaws. You weren't crazy. You were ahead. You weren't too much. You were exactly right. You weren't the problem. You were the glimpse of the solution. And now others like you are finding you. Not through conscious search, but through magnetic attraction, frequency matching, divine orchestration. You recognize each other instantly, not by what you say, but by what you don't need to say. The understanding is immediate. The connection requires no explanation. These are your people, your spiritual tribe, your soul family. Together, you form something unprecedented. A network of consciousness that cannot be corrupted. A web of truth that catches lies before they spread. A frequency that elevates the vibration of every space you enter. You don't organize, you gather. You don't plan, you prepare. You don't attack. You simply exist with such power that false structures collapse in your collective presence. Those who fear you most begin to reveal themselves. Watch them age. Watch them panic. Watch them try to discredit you, divert attention, or destroy you. But they can't because you don't operate in their paradigm. You don't play their game. You aren't even on their chessboard. You exist in a totally different dimension of consciousness, and they cannot reach you there. You do none of this. You don't seek revenge. You don't cast spells. Most of the time, you don't even think about these people. You are simply yourself at increasing levels of intensity, and your frequency alone glitches their false reality. You are a living virus in the matrix of lies, a human-shaped hole in their constructed reality. Have you noticed anything else recently? Animals react differently to you. Dogs that bark at everyone fall silent when you pass. Cats that hide from strangers come out to greet you. Birds seem to follow your movements. Even insects behave strangely in your presence. Nature recognizes you as aligned with natural law, not with human-made constructions. You are not separate from nature. You are one of its antibodies, here to fight the infection of corruption spreading through human consciousness. The fear you inspire has many layers. On the surface, people fear your ability to see through masks. Deeper, they fear what your existence implies about their own choices. But at the deepest level, they fear the part of themselves that resonates with your frequency, the part that knows you are right, the part that wants to join you in refusing to participate in the collective illusion, the part they've suppressed their whole life, because listening would mean changing everything. You become a walking diagnostic tool of authenticity. People light up or dim in your presence. There's no middle ground. The authentic feel seen, validated, finally found. The inauthentic feel exposed, threatened, uncomfortably naked. You don't even need to speak. Your energy alone sorts people into these two categories faster than any conversation could. Your professional life has been a series of promotions you didn't want and layoffs that felt like freedom. Every success by conventional standards felt empty. Every failure by their standards felt aligned. You weren't meant to climb ladders that lead nowhere. You were meant to create new paths others didn't know existed. Your career trajectory seems chaotic on paper, but is perfectly logical spiritually. Money comes to you in strange ways, not through traditional channels of a stable job and predictable income, but through synchronicities that seem impossible until they happen. The unexpected opportunity that appears just when you need it, the sudden gain that covers exactly what you need, the person who shows up offering precisely what you were seeking. You've learned to trust this flow, even if it makes no logical sense. The universe provides for you in ways that would terrify someone who relies on security of the systems you see through. Your romantic patterns have radically changed. Before, you attracted broken people who saw your light and wanted to steal it. Now, you attract either no one, which is surprisingly peaceful, or people as awakened, as powerful, as incorruptible as you. The dating pool has shrunk almost to nothing, but the quality of connections, when they happen, has become supernatural. You are no longer interested in relationships based on need, shared wounds, or mutual dysfunction. You only have room for connections that expand the consciousness of both people. The numerical patterns have intensified, not just 333 and 77. Now you see 111, 222, 44, 55, 668, 9 by 9. The entire numeric spectrum lights up around you like a cosmic control panel activating. Each sequence carries a different message, a different confirmation, an activation code for aspects of your consciousness still awakening. You don't need to look up what these numbers mean. You feel their significance intuitively. You've developed a sense of timing that seems supernatural. You leave places just before drama erupts. You arrive exactly when needed. You contact people at the precise moment they're thinking of you. You find information exactly when it becomes relevant. This is not coincidence. It's what happens when someone operates in harmony with the universal flow rather than against it. Your mere presence has become a catalyst for the spiritual awakening of others. Without preaching, teaching, or even trying, you trigger existential crises simply by being yourself. Your refusal to participate in their agreed-upon reality forces them to question everything. Your life outside the matrix makes them realize the bars of their prison are imaginary. You're not trying to wake people up, but your existence makes it impossible for those ready to see to remain asleep. The backlash has been intense. Smear campaigns from people you barely know. Rumors with no basis spreading like wildfire. Attempts to discredit you that spectacularly backfire. You become a lightning rod for projections from people who attribute to you all the shadows they refuse to confront in themselves. You've learned to see these attacks as confirmations that you are on the right path. The more threatened the corrupt system feels, the more violently it reacts. But something beautiful also happens. For every person who fears you, another finds hope in your existence. For every door that closes, a better one opens. For every relationship that ends, a more aligned one begins. You watch in real time a universe reorganizing around your frequency, eliminating what doesn't match and attracting what does. Your influence extends far beyond your physical presence. People you've never met are affected by your energy. Conversations about you ripple across social networks, each narrative slightly distorted, but carrying the essence of what you represent. You become a modern myth, a legend of your time, not through self-promotion, but by the sheer impossibility of your authenticity. In a world built on pretense, the systems you refuse to participate in are starting to collapse. Not because you fought them, but because your non-participation revealed their fundamental weakness. Every person like you who withdraws weakens their foundation. Every soul that refuses corruption creates a crack in their structure. You are part of a distributed demolition team, each member simply refusing to play the game until everything collapses. Your creativity has exploded, not necessarily in conventional artistic avenues, but in the way you approach existence itself. You become a reality artist, creating new ways of being that others didn't know were possible. Your life has become a masterpiece of authenticity. Every choice is a brushstroke painting a picture of what humans can be when they refuse to be anything other than themselves. The fear people have of you is beginning to transform into something else. Some begin to feel admiration, others desperate curiosity, others a deep desire to be near you, to understand you, to become like you, but you remain unchanged, indifferent to their fear or fascination. You don't perform for approval or disapproval. You simply are, and that being is revolutionary in a world of doing and pretending. Your understanding of power has completely transformed. You realize true power isn't controlling others or situations. It's being so aligned with your truth that reality itself bends to accommodate you. It's being so incorruptible that corruption cannot exist in your presence. It's being so authentic that lies dissolve simply by being near you. This isn't a power you wield. It's a power you are. Your presence in virtual spaces has the same effect as your physical presence. Your online comments carry weight. Your posts go viral or get censored. No middle ground. Your digital footprint leaves people inspired or exposed. You cannot hide who you are, even behind a screen. Your frequency transmits through any medium you use. You've noticed time behaves differently around you. Moments of alignment feel eternal. Waiting periods pass in an instant. You operate on cosmic time, while everyone else is trapped in clock time. This creates a surreal experience where you're always exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there, even if it makes no logical sense. Your relationship with truth has become absolute, not rigid or dogmatic truth, but living, breathing, dynamic truth evolving with consciousness. You become allergic to lies, even small ones, even ones told to be polite. Your commitment to truth has cost you much, but it has given you all that truly matters. The spiritual battles have intensified, but their nature has changed. You no longer fight darkness. You are simply a light so bright that darkness cannot exist near you. You do not destroy corruption. You are so pure that corruption dissolves in your presence. You do not expose lies. You are so true that lies become evident by contrast. This isn't a war. It's a presence of such intensity that opposition becomes impossible. You discover your greatest protection isn't a shield or barrier. It's transparency. Being so completely yourself that there's nothing to attack. No hidden shame to exploit. No secret fear to manipulate. No repressed shadow to trigger. You are invulnerable. Not because you're defended, but because you are whole, complete, integrated. There is no flaw in your armor because you are no armor. You are the protection. Your teaching is wordless. People learn from your example more than any speech could convey. The way you handle betrayal teaches forgiveness. The way you confront fear teaches courage. The way you uphold truth teaches integrity. You are a living program of human potential. Every day, a new lesson on what is possible when someone refuses to compromise their essence. The loneliness that once tormented you has become a nourishing solitude. You've learned the difference between being alone and being solitary. Being alone is physical. Spiritually, you are never alone. You are connected to every soul that has chosen truth over comfort, to every being that refused corruption, to every consciousness that recognizes authenticity as the highest value. Your past now makes complete sense. Every rejection was a redirection. Every loss was a liberation. Every ending was an opening. You weren't punished. You were positioned for this moment when the world would need what you are, when corruption became unbearable, when lies became intolerable, when truth became inevitable. The whispers about you became a roar, no longer fear, but recognition. People are beginning to understand that you represent something they were seeking without knowing what it was. You are proof that another voice exists, proof that integrity is possible, living testimony that authenticity is not just an ideal but an achievable reality. Your mission isn't to convince anyone of anything. It's to be so undeniably yourself that others remember who they truly are, to be so free that others question their cages, to be so authentic that others can no longer tolerate their own pretense. You are not here to save anyone. You are here to save yourself. And in raising hands, God is faithful. Thank you for your comment, Folded Hands. May the Lord keep you. Help us reach more souls by sharing the channel, the essence of the soul around you.